Mario, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I know you're a
Uh,
busy man.
I am. But thanks for slotting me in. Your show is so popular that since I came on the first week of the campaign after nomination, I couldn't get back on. But that's a good problem, right? Um,
Yes.
and I want to also, yeah, the schedule, Sandra, is brutal. I mean, when the government changed the election date from May 26th, I think it was originally planned for, to 14th of April, it really put a lot of people in a tailspin. But
Hmm.
thank God, with God's grace, protection, wisdom, help, we are making good progress and have a real good momentum going here in West Bay West. I want to thank my hardworking committee, a
Hmm.
dynamic group of people who are working. They're not concerned about what they get out of it. They're concerned about building a better country. And so I want to thank them first off for all their work, and all those people who are well wishers who've been calling me, who've been encouraging me, who've been praying for me and praying for our cause. And I also thank God for living in a country that is safe and that we have political freedom of expression. Although I heard my opponent make a statement on Mr. For the Record show yesterday, where he mentioned that there's a red circle in my forehead. That was a very serious statement to make, and I haven't been taking it lightly. I'm considering what to do about it, as a matter of fact, because it is quite easy for irresponsible politicians who are power hungry to make those kinds of statements, and those can easily be interpreted as a direct threat against a political opponent. And so I want to say that our campaign is about a better vision, ideas, and solutions, not about
Would this
throwing
would
mud.
this see? Let me just clarify what you've just said. This would be the same Makiva Bush who actually contacted the police and complained that I shared a meme that had been in wide circulation about him. He then gets on the radio and makes a direct threat to you, Mario, and somehow in his brain, he doesn't think that that's a problem.
I have been considering over the last day what to do about it, what to say about it, and how to advance it. I am very concerned about it because I know how he operates and I know what happened in 2005 election campaign. But I need him to clarify what he means by that. And it's on the record. Yesterday's show with Mr. Oric Connor, when he came on after I was on there. He came on, I think, between 9 and 9:15 and 10, or 9 and 10, and he made that statement toward the end of his broadcast, which was mostly just old stuff that he's just digging up. But he made that statement, and it's quite serious. So all I'm saying is that we are all about solutions and looking at the future. But when people get desperate, and when people try to incite violence, and when people try to get some of their supporters who may be under the influence of various products to incite them into things, I think it's very reckless, it's dangerous, it's undemocratic. And someone who is under a suspended prison sentence should not be going around inciting violence, harassing people on Facebook, harassing people on WhatsApp, harassing people in the neighborhoods, harassing people from his platform. He is on a suspended sentence, which means that if he breaches that, he could be hauled into prison. So he has to be very careful. And I don't want to get into this thing of lawsuits and all that, because I think we're going to win without that. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
win, we're going to win fair and square. But I want him to realize that if he's the father of the house, if he's an
Mm-hmm.
honorable person, he must behave honorably, because character is on the ballot this year. So is decency, so is ethics, so is
Mm-hmm.
accountability. And if he's the father of the house and he has family and children as well, he got to stop inciting them and his family, some of his family members, talking nonsense as well. Let's talk about the issues. That's what we're all about. That's what this country wants. That's what this country
Mm-hmm.
deserves. And that's what we plan to offer. Sandra, I want to also um, uh, in addition to thanking all those people in my committee, and I also want to wish my friend, my boyhood friend from Elizabeth Street in West Bay, where we grew up in the 70s, Troy Leacock. I want to wish him a happy birthday. Today is his birthday. I'm not sure how old he is. I'm not going to say how old he is, but he's a young, dynamic man. And I want to wish him a happy birthday. And I also want to thank him very much for having the patience to put up with all the lies that have been told about him and some tax plan. My opponent is trying to put that tax plan on me as well. And every time he opens his mouth, he talks about tax and my tax plan. I don't know where he's getting that from. I think he must have taken leave of his faculties, because he's not making a lot of sense in many things, including that. But let me just say about taxes, and this is the last time I'm going to say it, because I'm sick and tired of repeating it and following him down this train. I'm operating as an eagle. An eagle takes his fight up to the sky, and he takes a snake and picks him up at that level. The snake can't operate in the sky. The snake only operates in the dirt and the mud. But my opponent talks about taxes. The only person to bring income tax proposal into the public domain in this country in recent times was him. When he was premier, he brought in, or leader of government business, it was called in, he brought in something called a community enhancement fee, which was the income tax. He tried to bring it in. But when his own government, the business community and the citizens railed against that and almost ate him alive, he had a big meeting up at the Lions Center.
Mm-hmm.
Had to pull. You remember that?
I remember.
He came to me then too, to help him with this and tried to pull him out of that mess. And I said, look, I'm sick and tired of writing letters for you, writing your speeches, writing your cabinet papers, writing your speeches in the House when I was working for him, and afterwards, and even before. This is your mess. You clean it up. He is the man that brought an income tax proposal to this country, not me, not Troy Leacock. But I thank Troy for speaking out and for putting some pressure on my opponent on this matter and threatening him with complaint to the Standards in Public Life Committee or Commission, because this man has to be stopped, not stopped by force, like how he likes to stop people, but stopped in his tracks by whatever other legal means is possible. So I don't know what else you want to talk about. I have a few things, but I want to give you a little leeway in case there's anything that you are concerned about that you might want my thoughts on. If not, we can move on to something else.
I mean, I think we're all, maybe we're not really shocked, but we still, he does somehow manage to shock us every time he does do something. And I think that, we did a story a few days ago about a lot of his traditional supporters like Ms. Velma finally speaking up and saying that this is a man who's never taken accountability for his behavior. And all he does is he sits back and says, well, I guess you should accept all of this bad behavior because look at all of the good that I've done. So one of the big things that we have hammered home throughout this campaign is that there has to be a greater level of accountability and responsibility from the perspective of elected officials, of MPs. So they themselves need to be held to higher standard. And I dare say that, they need to have higher expectations of themselves. And so a lot of the behavior that Mr. Bush is being accused of does not appear to be very stately or impressive. And after someone has been in office for near, some 36 years, it's disappointing to see this sort of behavior. What do you bring to the table in that regard that we can expect if you are elected in West Bay West?
As I said before, Sandra, and as I said in the campaign trail and also in our manifesto and on our website, we have a website, Mario, the number 4, WBW.com, that has a lot of information about me and a bio that is very detailed and a good outline of our manifesto as well. So, but what I bring, Sandra, I bring experience in the public and private sectors, a good diverse perspective on many different areas. I bring qualifications. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in international finance and marketing and a minor in economics and public affairs. I have a MBA as well, Master of Business Administration. And these are things that I did not buy, or I did not get them added onto my name because of some kind of gift. I worked for those. And I also have a broad perspective in terms of service in the community, service in government boards, service in being past president of Rotary Club Central, past president of Junior Achievement, past president and founding member of the Overseas Students Association, past president and founding members of the HR Professional Society. I've been around. I've tried to do my best wherever I went. Wherever I went, I tried to improve. And when I left, I tried to make sure that I left the place better than where I found it. But I also bring character. I bring a Christian heritage. I bring a bold and courageous outlook. I'm a people's person, but I'm also one that will tell you frankly how I feel, and I will give you advice and help. I'm not about people coming and getting handouts, although people who need handouts will get handouts if it's justified. But I want to help people help themselves. You know what they say? You can give someone a fish and they'll eat for a day, but you teach them to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime. That's the kind of philosophy that I like to project, because that's how I was brought up. My parents taught us to work hard, to be honest, do an honest day's work with an honest day's pay. And that's the kind of principles and values and beliefs that I bring to this campaign. And when, with God's help, I am elected on the 14th of April, which is next Wednesday. By this time next week, Thursday, after I have a few hours sleep, we're on the road. We're starting to work. And my wife and I have been living in Coral Gables in Northwest Point for the last 28 years. And before that, I grew up in West Bay. When we came here in 1968, we started living in the rental properties because we had to start life from the bottom up again. And so we were in West Bay North, which is Boston Bay. Then we moved to Genevieve Bodden Road, which is West Bay South now. Then we moved to Mr. Spurgeon Ebanks rental properties where Foster's Food Fair is now in West Bay. There used to be some rental houses there. Then my father and all of us, brothers and friends and stuff, my father had us all working for years, helping build our house in Mount Pleasant, and that's West Bay Central. And after I got married, then we lived at a condo in Ocean Club for 5 years, my wife and I. And then we moved back to West Bay, back to beautiful West Bay. And we're in West Bay West now in Coral Gables for 28 years. And of that 28 years, I was the chairman of the Coral Gables Homeowners Association for 25 years. And during that time, we have built and improved a wonderful neighborhood where people are safe, it's quiet, there's no derelict vehicles, there's no loud music, people get along well, people love each other. We have neighborhood functions, children are safe, children are protected. And those kinds of things that we have done in Coral Gables are the kinds of standards and improvements and quality of life that we want to bring to West Bay West, to West Bay in general, and the Cayman Islands in general. So I bring that perspective, Sandra, and I am putting myself out, taking myself out of a comfort zone, if you want to call it that, of full employment and a career, to offer myself to the public. I say to people that my wife is retired. She's still young, still beautiful, still energetic. And when you elect me, you also have a party of two, because you get two almost for the price of one, because she helps. But her job will be to help me and to take care of me so I can take care of the country. But I want to say something, and this is not a threat, or this is not being arrogant. I've put myself out this time, again, after stepping aside for 16 years. People have a choice next Wednesday. I'm ready to serve. I'm able and willing, and I'm a servant leader. But if they make a mistake and put the other guy in next Wednesday, then Mario Ebanks is not going on this road again as a candidate. Now, I'm not going to be walking away, but not as a candidate. So let's get it done. Let's get her done, as people telling me, let's get this thing done next week. Our opponent, my opponent is on the ropes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's ask.
That's why he is so angry and have all this hate speech and telling all these lies. It's time for him to go after 36 years, and let's bring in a better way forward. And that is Mario Ebanks and our wonderful team around this country that we can work together and build a wonderful government as an alternative to what we have here now and what is also building up to take us forward.
Thank you, Mario, so much for those comments. So we do have persons who are keeping us abreast of the situation with the Cubans. So Mary says that some of the Cubans are now getting off of the boat by the port. Thank you so much. I had heard that actually from another source on WhatsApp. There's a few people on here, Mario, who are wondering if you could address this situation about the Cubans. So do you have any thoughts on, I mean, obviously I know that you and I think your siblings were born in Cuba and Isle of Pines, if I remember correctly. So you've got some connections to Cuba. Do you have any thoughts on what is happening with this situation here today?
I do, and thank you very much. This is a very difficult topic for me. Because I know how it feels to follow your parents up a tall flight of stairs on a boat at night at 4 years old and sail from Gerona in the Isle of Pines to Badamanoo in mainland Cuba overnight to go to Havana to catch a flight to freedom. I know how that feels. And I know it must be desperation why people take the risk to come across on boats with a small child and children and women. The Cuban situation is very, very difficult indeed. I'm hoping and praying that it can get better. We have a Cuban Caymanian association in Cayman, which is Mr. Armando Ebanks is the chairman, and they have a board. We've been trying to get that active for a number of years. And in my campaign, I've also said that if I'm elected, or when I'm elected, by God's grace, on the 14th of April, we're going to negotiate a flight. We have here flights now between Owen Roberts Airport and Havana, but we want to try to do a small monthly flight on the Saab aircraft between Georgetown and Gerona, which is the Isle of Pines capital, to build travel and trade between our these two countries, and many of our people who live there. So I have a long connection with Isle of Pines, even though my grandparents and great-grandparents are all from Cayman, but my parents were born there, and we were born there because, as you know, many Caymanians had to go overseas to other countries in the region, Jamaica, Cuba, Honduras, the Bay Islands, also the US, in the 60s and 70s to look for opportunities and for a better life. And so my grandparents did that. And so my parents were born there and we were born there. So this situation with the Cubans and what they're doing, I find to be unacceptable. I also find what is unacceptable is the gentleman who was protesting in front of the government administration building for a number of weeks and trying to get benefits that he was not entitled to, and doing it the wrong way. But what kind of bothers me is, why did he have to resort to that kind of behavior? Was it that he was being ignored? Was it that he was not given the services of a translator to explain the situation to him legally? And I've watched your video yesterday. Somebody was showing it to me of what they're saying on the ship that they're on, and I am wondering, why is it that our premier, since the governor's office has said that this matter is not for his office or for the UK government, it is a devolved responsibility for our elected government. Why isn't the premier paying attention to this? Why isn't the Minister for Home Affairs, who also speaks Spanish? She also speaks Spanish. Now, she might not be able to speak, probably just as bad as me with Spanish, but she certainly is the Minister of Home Affairs. Why isn't she involved in this as well? She's retiring, so she should have the time. She's not campaigning, so she could assist with it. Because what is
Oh,
happening is that,
sorry, you're referring to Tara Rivers?
right, right.
Oh, she's bilingual. I never knew that.
Minister of Home Affairs. Well, she's somewhat. She's somewhat. She's smart, you know. She's my cousin too. But so what I'm saying though is that the government, the elected government, needs to pay some attention to this, because we're getting a very bad impression around the world. There's misinformation, and so it needs to be addressed. Yesterday, let me have a sip of water here. Yesterday, I called the governor's office after I'd been thinking about this matter and looking at the video and reflecting and listening. I called the governor's office and I had a conversation with one of the senior people there, and I think that what they've said to me is what you just said this morning, that it is the governor is saying that they're monitoring it, but it's not their responsibility. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to resolve this, and I believe that one of the things that might need to be done is the agreement between Cayman and Cuba in relation to refugees under the United Nations Refugees Convention need to be relooked at and revised, because the current matter is not being handled properly. We can't have Customs and Border Patrol and the police dealing with this thing without some senior involvement by our elected government. Our elected government, I called on them this morning to get engaged with this problem, because it is a problem. Get to the bottom of it. Make sure that our image around the world is not tarnished because of this information or misinformation, and work with the governor and encourage him also to do whatever he needs to do to help resolve this, because it's a human rights issue. These people, like I said, I know how they feel. I didn't come here on a boat, but I know how they feel to run away from their own country. So we got to listen to them and work with them. If and when I'm elected, I will play a big role in helping to resolve this situation with the agreement between Cayman, the UK, and Cuba in relation to refugees, because we're right here in the flight path, as it were, for those people coming, because they don't really want to come here. They want to get to the United States and other places. But so I believe that the government, the elected government, I'm not elected yet, they need to step up to the plate and deal with this. And I call in the Premier, I call in the Minister of Home Affairs to work on this and to get in the forefront of this, and let's deal with it, and not pass it on to somebody else, because CDC and the police can only work based on policy, and we need to have leadership in this. And all I'm going to say about that today is that I'm concerned about it. The Cuban Caymanian community can trust that if I'm elected, we're going to represent them, we're going to represent our people, and we're going to do what's right, what's legally defensible, and what is Christian heritage we should do, and what is also ethical. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Mario, for those comments. Madeline, someone was saying that they thought that you were, I don't know what that question was, so they didn't quite get your connection to Cuba. They said they thought you were, I guess, a born Caymanian. So maybe if you could just remind them of your Caymanian heritage, and also precisely where you were born and how you came to live in the Cayman Islands.
I want to tell people that everybody has smartphones now. Everybody has internet connection. People have data. People have Wi-Fi. Go on www.Mario, the number 4, WBW.com. You'll see my history. I also have a long family tree thing that shows that I am a 8th generation Caymanian. So 8 generations going back. But my great grandparents were from West Bay. The Ebanks, the Bush, the Rivers family. My grandparents were Philip Cadian Ebanks and Myrtle Getseme Ebanks on my father's side. On my mother's side, my father was Edward Barney Ebanks, and my grandmother was Lina Rivers. And so they moved to the Isle of Pines in around 1905, 1910, that range, and moved there because of health and economic reasons. Um, and and my parents were born there in the Isle of Pines. In the Isle of Pines, there was a lot of Caymanians there, English-speaking people there, and Americans and Canadians. And it was kind of almost like how Grand Cayman was in the 60s. A lot of English-speaking people. As a matter of fact,
Mhm.
my Spanish is limited because I didn't go to school. When after the communists came in after the revolution in 1959, 1960, when the communist Castro government took over from Batista, only
Mhm.
those who people who spoke English, like in our family and stuff, the only how you learned Spanish is when you went to school. If you didn't go to school, we spoke English at home. So when I got here, I didn't speak much Spanish. I was only 4.5 years old, almost five. Um, but my brothers, I have four brothers, John, uh, Don, and Decky, who are twins, George, and I have two sisters, Joanne Bush and Sonia Pearson. Sonia is my little baby sister, so she was only a year and a half when we got here.
Mhm.
So she wasn't speaking anything, but she was certainly a precious part of our entourage, and still is. Um, but so I didn't speak any Spanish because I didn't go to school yet.
Mhm.
But we grew up there, and then when the communists came in and the things started to turn bad, my father was was a was a master carpenter. We had
Mhm.
property. He did farming. My mother was then and still is, although she's 91 years old now, a homemaker, taking care of us children in the country. And we grew up, had a nice life there until the communists came in, and we lost everything: the land, lost home, lost employment, and we had to, because of being British, we were able to get out. And one of the main motivators is that my oldest brother, John, John Wesley, he was almost turning 15. And when you got turned that age, you had to go into the military. And my father and my mother and our Cuban Caymanian friends or Caymanian family said, we're not going to allow him to go into a communist army. And so my father had to work and pray and go into the bushes and sit and pray and fast. And we got into contact with the British Embassy in Havana. We got a real run around. People from Cayman were helping us to get out, and other Caymanians who were trying to get out. People like Mr. T.W. Willie Farrington, Mr. Benson, Obadiah Ebanks, Uncle Georgie. Uncle Georgie is a precious uncle of ours. Other people were working for us, the Farringtons, and we got out. We got out on the 22nd of October, 1968, and my brother John would have turned to the age where he had to go into the military of Cuba on November the 27th, 1968. So we just made it. It was so close. It was actually so close that the British Embassy and a council officer by the name of Louise Kroll,
Mhm.
Mary Louise Kroll, sent a military aide from the British Embassy to the airport with us to make sure that we got on that flight, that Cubana Aviacion flight to Grand Cayman, and my brother John was allowed to come as well. So I know how these people feel, and I
Mhm.
know that I am a eighth generation Caymanian, and I want to serve this country because I've been given an opportunity to start life over again. I've worked hard, and I work hard in the future.
Mhm.
I pledge that to you today and to everyone listening and watching me over Cayman Marl Road. I'm here to serve. I'm ready to serve. I'm your servant leader. Give me a chance. Don't miss that chance on the 14th. My friend, my opponent has had 36 years. We've had a lot of issues in this country. Many are still unresolved, and he wants 4 more years. Tonight, at our public meeting at 7 p.m. At the Ed Bush Field, I am going to be speaking on a topic that's going to be very special. It's called Let's Reunite That Shining City on a Hill. And I want people to listen and come out to the public meeting tonight, 7 p.m. until about 10. And we're going to have guest speakers. I'm going to speak about that topic. Let's reignite that shining city on a hill. We're going to have refreshments. Our t-shirts are going to be available. Beautiful t-shirts, Sandra. I got to get you one of those. I think you love those as well. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a good time. And we may be able to have a question and answer period if we have time. We have a great MC as well. So people come out tonight. If you have not received your little brochure yet, that talks about me and talks about our plans and policies, and it's really just a summary of our plans, and you can see more details of that on our website, which is mario4wbw.com. And Sandra, I hope that I have addressed the issue of the Cuban situation, and I just want to say, if I could get a few more minutes, that one of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight in my talk at the public meeting is that our three islands, which I regard as shining cities on a hill, the three little dots in the middle of the Western Caribbean Sea, that are really a miracle that we are here and do so well. But our three little islands, mountaintop shining cities on three hills, are under threat. And when you have multi-billion-dollar investors and developers like the DART group coming in here, and simply because they employ people and they are multi-billionaires, some people, including my opponent, believe that you should give them everything on a silver platter and say, you come on, you take it, whatever you want, you can get. When they want to put a canal or canals from the North Sound and go under the bypass road with the canal and excavate a big turning basin on that land where the Kaboo Festival was held, and bring the waters of 7 Mile Beach and the waters of the North Sound within 1,000 feet of each other. That is reckless, and that has the potential, with the rising sea levels because of global warming, that has the potential of stamping out all of the lights on this bright shining city on a hill that we're talking about. And we cannot allow that. We need to work with the DART people. We need to work with developers. We got to work with investors, but it has to be on our terms, where Caymanians, not just Caymanians now, but those who are yet unborn, also will have an opportunity. So growth management and sustainable development are critical factors in my campaign and the way forward. And that's why I am proposing a strategy called Vision 2050, which is going to be a long-term plan. And I am calling today, and I'm going to call tonight as well, for a moratorium on large hotels and other large developments on the 7 Mile Beach and elsewhere until we can get a proper development plan for this country. Not one that's going to take 10 years, like how the current government is talking about. We need to get this done now. It's a priority. Let's get it done. Let's restart a long-term plan and not have short-term gain for long-term pain, which seems to be the doctrine of my opponent and his enablers around West Bay and elsewhere. We have to look at the long term. It's not the most politically expedient policy, but it's the best. And I'm here for doing what's right and not just what's politically expedient.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Mario. We really appreciate it. So you're in the final week now of the election. It's less than a week. Good luck to you, Mario. Of course, we'll be checking in with people next week on Election Day from the various polling stations. And we will have all-day coverage right here on CMR. So we will send those details to your committee members so that they're abreast of how the day will flow, so that we can certainly keep an eye on what's happening there in West Bay West. So again, good luck to you.
Could I say?
Yes.
Could I say something to the very end here? One of the most impactful things that I've done in this campaign is to attend a session last week with a group called a group that deals with inclusion. I think it's called Inclusion Cayman, and dealing with children with special needs, and talking about how to include them. And I watched the testimony of some of the mothers of those children, and so we got to deal with early intervention of childhood issues and learning disabilities, and also proper assessments. And I want to say to all parents, all mothers, and all young children that we need to deal with these issues. We got to stop giving these concessions to these large developers and put some money, invest some money in our country. And if you elect Mario Ebanks on the 14th of April, be assured that I'll not let you down. I'll not embarrass you. Help and hope is on the way. Thank you very much, Sandra. God bless you, and God bless Cayman Islands.
Thank you so much, Mario. Appreciate it. Okay, folks, so that is Mr. Mario Ebanks. Thank you guys so much for your comments. I see lots of you. Donna says, heartfelt message, Mario, wishing you all the best. You deserve a chance to continue for the to work for the Caymanian people and the Cayman Islands, and you have a plan to move us forward in a better direction. Selena, Vicky says she feels the tears of the situation. Bonnie says, go Mario, you're one of us. Troy is here. It's time for West Bay West to have an intelligent, educated, and compassionate MP of good character and integrity. Anna also feels the emotions of that story. Derek, thank you so much for tuning in. Karen and Anna. Jess says we can fix the situation, that it doesn't happen again. But when they arrive here again, give them food, water, fuel, and clothes, and let them continue on their journey, because that is what they want. So fix the regulations to make it happen, and then the situation won't happen again. The problem, Jess, is as it relates to the Cuban nationals, we are actually committed to, international laws and international obligations that are of no making of ours. So in other words, because we remain a UK territory, the UK has signed on to certain international policies as it relates to this particular country. And so we have no choice in terms of what we do with them. So we are obligated, once they come into our waters, to take them on board. And then we have some sort of repatriation agreement with the Cuban government. So that is why we process them. It seems to take an awfully long time to send them back. And that's the area that I'm not quite so sure why it takes such a long time, and if there's anything that we can do to expedite that situation. But I don't think we have a choice about what we do with them. We just have a choice of how quickly, and again, it may not be our problem. It could be on the end of the Cuban government. I'm sure they probably want to take their time in terms of taking them back as well.